So you might have noticed that these are not your usual social media icons. So we've got Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, but they are in beakers with liquid colors. And the reason for that is, we all know that scientists are in the lab with white lab coats and colored liquids in beakers. And plant scientists, they look at grass. And that's a man trying to change paprika DNA like this. I'm sure everyone of you is doing that on a daily basis. So the boring thing is that these are stock photos. So these are pictures journalists or other people can buy in commercial databases to illustrate any articles they do about science or plant science. And I don't know about you, but I find that quite boring. And I think that's one of the many reasons to do outreach and engagement, to change that stereotypical picture of scientists we have of people in white lab coats. And also the maybe hazy picture of what plant scientists actually do, because we're not sitting in the field with a magnifying glass looking at plants. Well, not everyone is. So I'm going to talk about social media, and there's a very interesting website which is called alexa.com, and they've got statistics on the top 50 or 500 of the globally most used websites. And surprisingly, so I do that every time I give a talk, and now Facebook has definitely taken over Google. So Facebook is the most used website at the moment, then Google. And the third one is YouTube. And I think YouTube is a medium which we scientists maybe neglect a bit, because it's got that stigma of you go there to waste time, to look at cat videos, to look at mood videos or whatever. But it's actually quite a very efficient tool, and students are more and more using it as an alternative search engine. So they don't go to Google to search for information, they go directly on YouTube. So we've got a YouTube channel, and I'm not going to play these videos now, but you can come to the outreach stall afterwards. And when I say we, I mean myself, together with plant cell biologists from Warwick, so it's Lorenzo Figerio, Charlotte Carroll, and a friend of mine who's a musician. And we compose lyrics, we compose the music, I make the cartoon videos, and so we make quite catchy songs about organelles. Because so half of my time I'm in science communication, but the other half I'm studying the Golgi apparatus in plant cells. And both the Golgi apparatus and the plant cells have quite a tough time with schools and people generally. So when I started, people were saying, oh, maybe you're a bit weird doing this, and well, you're wasting your time, you've got too much time, you should be in the lab doing real work. But then 10,000 views later of the Golgi song, suddenly we started to realize, oh, maybe there's something behind it. And we started getting more and more comments of students who said, oh, the song has helped me with my homework, the song has helped me with my project. Oh, my teacher has played this to us in the United States in our class, and we were like, oh, really? So by now, the whole channel has had over 57,000 views, which I think it's not really Gangnam Style, but it's quite impressive for a plant cell scientific channel, I think. So it's getting about 500 to 1,000 views every month continuously, and that's a big potential we can tap into, I think, and which maybe, I know some of you already have YouTube channels and put their research on YouTube, but I think it's something we could make use of a lot more. So YouTube is very good for getting big numbers, but it's a bit of a one-way engagement. So people come, they consume the science, and they go away, they rarely comment anymore. So I wanted to introduce a case study of something which is a bit more dialogue-based, which is what ideal public engagement should be. Not having the scientists experts delivering information to students who supposedly know nothing, but something where everyone talks and everyone benefits and everyone learns. So who here has an account on Twitter? Who is using Twitter? That's always the question. People say, yeah, we've got an account, but they do nothing with it. So Twitter is a kind of micro-blogging social media network site where people can post small updates in less than 140 characters. And they're public, so if you set your account to public, everyone can read them. And from time to time, I like to search for things like Golgi apparatus and plant cells, just to get a feel for the mood of how people feel about plant cells, especially the school students. And so it's kind of split between, oh my god, this is so boring, why do we need to learn about plant cells? I'm not a plant, I will never ever need this again, which is quite sad. And the other half saying, oh, LOL, Golgi apparatus, such a funny word. So that's kind of it's true, go to Twitter and search for your own research bit, it's really funny. So anyway, suddenly one day I noticed that there were several accounts popping up, which were Goji Body 2012 and Goji Rocks, Goji Rules. And I was like, what's going on here? It's not me, but they're tweeting about Goji. So I inquired further, and it turned out that that was a high school project in Illinois, where the teacher, Brett Graber, had asked his class to do a presidential campaign for organelles. And so he put the pupils into teams, and they took over the identity of peroxisomes, mitochondria, Goji body. But he put an additional spin to it, and he asked them to create fake Twitter accounts for these organelles. And so they went on Twitter and they posted advertisements how great their organelle was, and also they ran smear campaigns against others saying how rubbish they were. And I thought that was fantastic, so I started to tweet with them, and other plant scientists and cell biologists from across the world joined in. And here are just some examples of the things they tweeted. So peroxisome organelle, were able to make it through the day, you're welcome. Breaking no toxin, saving everyone, oxidation for the winner with peroxisome. We've got nucleus. If we ever need anyone to talk to, I'll be there. After all, I know all of you. I did hold most of your DNA. Or the cytoskeleton via your cars, trains, airplanes, subways, and any other modes of transportation you can think of, road cytoskeleton. So we really enjoyed reading these tweets, and we answered back. We fed them additional information. We challenged them by asking questions, and we retweeted them. And the students, they could not believe that they were real famous scientists from Oxford. Of course, we didn't tell them it was Oxford books, we just said actually someone found it out, and yeah. And so they were thrilled to interact with real scientists, and the whole project really grew and exploded in a way. And after a while, I noticed that they started to go around in circles and started to repeat the same things, and it became clear that they had reached the limiting capacity of their textbook information. So I thought, okay, I'll throw in PubMed and Google Scholar. And then things got really, really seriously because they started to read the scientific abstracts of papers. And they also, if someone said something, then the other organelles slammed them and said, you can't just post this, you have to post evidence, where are your references? And then these were 14-year-old students, and they suddenly were at this level of undergrad students, and the teacher couldn't believe it either. So they got so addicted that they even didn't watch TV or sports anymore, but they did their biology project, and they made posters and cakes, and they were on Twitter. But we got addicted as well, we scientists. So it was an intense 2 weeks. And it even sparked debate amongst cell biologists. For example, scientists started to debate what is an organelle, what's the definition of an organelle, are small vesicous organelles or not, etc., etc. So that's the whole part where this public engagement part comes in, of everyone learning something. But of course, there are more deeper things as well, such as had anyone had the stereotype of a scientist changed over the last few days? Because obviously, scientists are people in white lab coats in sterile labs with colored liquids, and they are not on Twitter, and they are not tweeting with high school students. So that was quite a revelation for them. And of course, having women in science as role models for the girls, as when I complained about the lack of women in the science TV show, someone often, so Cycle for Cycle, the cytoskeleton tweeted back, I think most of the campaigns who won organelles were made by girls, #girl power. And that, again, is something very inspiring. I find that young girls can see that there are female active scientists. So Mr. Graber blogged about this, and he said, this experience has by far been the most incredible experience of my 15-year teaching career. To have your children, my students, interacting with experts from around the world and to be excited about learning about the Golgi apparatus is unbelievable. I mean, I'm like, what do you mean unbelievable? It's really exciting, the Golgi. And I think general opinion might not be like that. So that was a totally unplanned, spontaneous project which emerged from social media, and it's something which we could call a network effect, just by having the platform for different people from different backgrounds coming together to share a common interest, which in this case was plant cell biology, can create amazing things. And that's a little after story, in case someone wondered what was in this bag, which I mysteriously placed in here. So one of the students made a plush Golgi with the mom, and so they sent it to me as a thank you gift. And I just think that's amazing. It even has little budding vesicles here. So I told them I would take it to Dundee, and I would take pictures of it in Scotland. And so it shows that even though it's a virtual medium, and I know people are sometimes like, yeah, but you know, it's just online. It's actually something real, it's something tangible. And when I showed it to people in the lab, were like, what, they sent it to you and you just know them over Twitter? And I was like, yeah, that's new communication. So if you feel inspired now to maybe have a go at Twitter yourself or to expand your network, I'm curating a kind of unofficial list of plant scientists who are active on Twitter, and you can find that here. So sign up, click on follow. There are lots of interesting and amazing people there. Some are really funny, like Gary Foster. And otherwise, I'd like to thank, so Outreach, the projects I do, these are all big team efforts, and I'd like to thank my colleagues who I'm doing the music with, the biologists I'm talking with over Twitter. Of course, Oxford Brookes University for giving me this really great opportunity to have half research, half science communication. And so if you're interested in more, I've got a website with a blog where you can read more about all of these projects and other projects. Here's the YouTube channel, and as I said, come to our stall afterwards and you can have a look at videos or follow me on Twitter. And otherwise, thank you for your attention.